Another day, another dollar.
Yep. Another brunch, another holler.
What?
Another brunch, another holler, brother. If you don't know brunch, you're nothing.
Oh.
Brunch is a favorite armadillo's food group.
It's right next to the carbs, or the insect armadillo.
The brunch is best served in omelet form. Thank you, brother. And I'm excited because Pastor's joining us on this session. He's my favorite. The father of Ethan, who is not my favorite.
I thought armadillos just ate a lot of asphalt.
Armadillos doesn't matter to you.
Oh, armadillos do eat a lot of asphalt.
How dare you bring up my cousins and nephews?
The dead ones.
Should we get started?
We should start with more water.
It's communal. Communion water.
Yeah, it's communion water. Should see the wafers. Here we go. Oh, wow, that's strong water. Welcome to the State of the Ozarks podcast. This is Josh Heston, Editor-in-Chief.
And this is Ethan Grubach.
And we're talking about our Ozarks.
Your community.
And this episode of Been Thinking About has been brought to you by...
Artist Christine Reitzel, Beauty from Light.
Josh Huxtable, State of the Ozarks patron.
Stafford's Barbershop and Shave Company, the place for men in downtown Branson.
Shepherd the Musical, rediscovering America's story.
Blue Rock Print Company, upgrade your look.
And the Taney County Health Department, creating opportunities for healthy lives in our community. Good folks there, Dave Ryder.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, you're wearing your favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 shirt.
And it's my only Mystery Science Theater 3000 shirt.
Well, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
All the names of Dave Ryder from Space Mutiny.
Space Mutiny.
Oh my gosh, that's a terrible movie.
Oh no, it is the best movie ever. Are you kidding me? There's space.
Yes, there's indeed
mutiny.
Space. There is mutiny.
There's Balerians.
you know, we've got a lot of Balerians in the floorboards.
There's the very obvious villain.
Yes.
Very obvious villain. There's the very obvious hero, which for an 80s movie is basically the guy who takes the most steroids.
Yeah, very much so.
And a woman who somehow looks 20 and 80 at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Oh, yeah. For those...
And some weird Santa Claus guy.
And comments about Valerians.
Oh.
That is. Oh, good. I feel so. Over the years, have felt deeply vindicated by culture. That's a handful of times. One of them, the first one being my love for Star Wars, and then suddenly, beginning in 1997, Star Wars becomes everywhere. And now I can just quote random things from any Star Wars movie and just almost anyone will know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That was the first one. The second one was I got into graphic arts and of course using Apple computers exclusively. Just to the point where it was like, is Apple going to make it or not? And I had people who were being like, so what are you going to do with your life if, when Apple computer goes under? And now those people are using iPhones. So, and the last one, my good friend, big personal shout out to my good friend Chris Hoy, way back in the early 2000s for introducing me to this thing called Mystery Science Theater 3000 that I just absolutely fell in love with. Mainly because it was so funny and it wasn't like stupid sitcom funny.
Yeah. I mean, the whole basis of the show and the whole story behind this show is there's a guy and two robots who sit there in this movie theater and riff these terrible B movies.
Yes, and but it's not like dumb riffing.
No, it's funny.
It's funny and it's so smart. And I've never I think one of the things I personally love about it is that it can be so highbrow and so lowbrow at the same time.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. So, yeah, so that's your... And this is all the names of Dave Ryder.
Yes, every single one of them.
Yes. So, slab bulkhead, fridge large meat, punt, speed chunk, butch deadlift. Oh.
Bold big flank.
Bold big flank. Buff drink slot. That's me.
Gristle McThornbody.
I resemble some of these statements these days.
It's just this big muscular guy who just about every time that he's on screen, is it Mike and the two robots have some kind of name for him.
Yeah, that just add up over the episode.
Yeah, add up, and at one point one of them just goes, Bob Johnson. And realizes that it doesn't work.
Oh my gosh. So, this is... I really have no idea how to tie this into our subject, but it's fun. Punch, side iron. Yeah. Slate, fist crunch.
Lump beef broth.
Touch, rust rot.
Roll fizzle beef.
We'll exodus on roll fizzle beef.
We'll roll into the next subject.
Right into the next subject.
Which is...
Yes, the regions of the Ozarks.
Yes.
Many regions of the Ozarks. There's a lot of Ozarks.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than you knew about.
I know there's like pretty much Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a pretty fair estimate, pretty much Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah, there you go.
And of course, I know the Ozark Mountain or Ozark Hills, which is most of southern Missouri. And then there's the Ozark River Country.
Yep.
Ozark Plateau.
Yep.
Okay, that's one of them.
So I'm gonna dig back. This was one of the things 11 years ago I was actually doing this summer, or 12 years ago I was doing this summer, as I was getting ready to plot out the magazine. Because I needed to have some sort of idea of where the Ozarks were and where they weren't, so I could gauge what I was covering in terms of stories. Burp. And it took me a while, but I was pretty proud of the map. I got the atlases out, and I got my magic markers, and kind of started tracing it in and reading and tracing it in. And there's sort of two maps of the Ozarks. The first thing you have to understand is the Ozarks are massive. It's the Ozark Plateau. You could effectively identify the Ozarks Plateau just as the whole, and then that plateau is broken up into different sections. And there's things. Lost my train of thought. Can't imagine why. Things. There are things. Pause for station break. As you are coming down, because I was traditionally coming down into the Ozarks from the north, and as you come in that direction, it's not so much that you're going up into the mountains as that you're just seeing more rocks.
Yeah, pretty much.
And slowly realizing that your elevation is dropping. And it's very different. I think the first time that I truly got an idea of the Ozark Mountains, and we'll get your dad in here and talk with him about it, but it was down in Ozark, Arkansas. And down there you're in the Arkansas River Valley, and you can turn around and look north, and you actually see the Ozark Mountains. And that was a really, really unique, really beautiful experience. But there's lots of different sections, and I think there may be a lot of people who are actually living in the on the Ozark Plateau that may not realize that they're even in the Ozarks. And it was certainly a question when I was first doing research for this, going, okay, where do they start? Where do they stop? And as a basic primer, it's the idea that the Ozarks northern boundary is the Missouri River. The southern boundary is the Arkansas River Valley. The western boundary is over by Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And the eastern boundary is Cape Girardeau. And there's even a sliver. There was a point in which the Mississippi River changed course and dug its way through geologically a chunk of the Ozarks. And as a result, there's a sliver of, geologically, the Ozark Mountains on the east side of the Mississippi River in Illinois. So, it's geologically, that is a massive plateau. And then culturally, and this is what I think gets a little interesting, is that culturally, there are areas that are on the Ozarks Plateau that may not be characterized as Ozark culture. And then there are areas outside of the Ozarks Plateau that are Ozarkian culture. My top examples of this would be that a portion of the St. Louis Metroplex is geologically on the Ozarks Plateau. And yet, this is the St. Louis Metroplex. Mm-hmm. That's clearly not Ozarkian culture.
Right.
At the same time, the Ouachita Mountains down in Arkansas is a completely different mountain range. Different background, different everything. But culturally, it's the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And you can also cross up into, getting a little bit into northern Missouri, go across the Missouri River, and rural Missouri in those hills, and you may not geologically be in the Ozarks, but culturally
you're still in the Ozarks.
You're very much in the Ozarks. So it's very odd in terms of this vast region that really is the size of a state, the size of a good big state, because you're dealing with, like you said, a big chunk of Arkansas, a piece of Oklahoma, a big chunk of Missouri, that has its own, to a pretty large degree, we can say it has its own identity. Mm-hmm. So, that said, let's get your dad in here and get some of his takes. He's been all over the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And see what he thinks.
All right.
1:36:37.
Pause for a second. Station break. I rebooted my brain.
Can we please have a night where I can watch that show with y'all?
Oh, yes,
no
absolutely.
one else gets that but me.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I said,
Yes.
No one has ever liked it like me.
Done. Love on Mystery Science Theater 2009. I've got a bunch on video. Cheers. Communion water.
Are you good?
I'm great. Oh. Yeah. Do this real quick. Range. So, how are we doing? We're still recording on
Well, he hasn't started the clock, so apparently.
No, but we're on.
Oh, we are recording.
Yeah, we are. For YouTube.
My favorite pastor. He's my favorite.
Flattery will get you
He is the
everywhere.
leader of all the armadillos.
And he makes meatloaf.
And he makes amazing meatloaf with ham. My favorite. Besides, vrocho testicles.
Sorry. I'm writing down some cheat sheets. I should have done it earlier. The 11, I didn't want to keep turning around. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. The 19 regions of the Ozarks. We're going to be talking about the 19 regions of the Ozarks. Or at least a few. We don't have to...
The 19 regions of the Ozarks are similar to the 19 regions of a vulture's testicles. They are delicious, tender, and moist. Seared
Simmer down, Alejandro.
with a light breeze.
Oh my goodness! See what you get on the behind the scenes, and there you go. I'll get this one out too. Then we don't have to share. All right. Here we go. You ready? So, Dale.
What?
It's good to have you back in the
Thank
studio.
you. It's good to be back.
Oh, we're talking about the 19 regions of the Ozarks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure between the two of us, we've probably been in most of them.
Yeah, I think so. As I've looked, down the list here a little bit, yes, have been most of them. In fact, I grew up in one of the regions, and I live now in the other one.
And which region did you grow up in?
I grew up in the Merrimack River Hills region, which covers, of course, Steelville, Keysville, Cuba, and that area in there. And then the Gasconade Hills, which is in the Owensville, Bland, Bell area.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And for folks who are wondering what that weird background noise is, my printers decided to wake up.
There is a printer waking up.
Forgot about that.
The printer at Udell's.
By Harold Bell
By
Wright.
Harold Bell Wright.
I bet he didn't know it was an inkjet printer.
I bet he didn't. He probably wishes it was.
I'm wondering how many people listening would get that reference. It's
Stop by. I'll show you my collection.
absolutely. You got what, first editions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
what
do.
I thought. That's dating all the way back to 1908, 1909. Yeah, neat stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you make of the Ozarks broken into all of these different categories?
What do I make of it? I mean, it helps people to identify, I guess, where they live. I've always known that I grew up in the river country.
Yes.
Of
What
the
does
Ozarks.
that mean? What does that mean to you?
Well, river country it has a lot of flowing river. I mean, we had small creeks. We had the Burbus River. We had the Merrimack River. We had the Gasconade River. But then to the south of us was the 11 Point, the Black Current, those areas. But the region I grew up in was gentle rolling hills, a lot of timber, and a lot of water. Just a lot of river stream water.
Which is pretty. It's pretty.
Oh, it's beautiful, And when I think of hillbilly, that's what I think of right there.
Yeah. Even though it's just kind of on the cusp of the St. Louis Metroplex.
Yeah.
To a large degree. Your dad worked in St. Louis.
Yes, he did. Yep. For 30 plus years, there in St. Louis at the Chrysler plant, which no longer exists.
Like completely doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
it doesn't even.
Like you drive by and there's
You can't even smell it anymore.
completely gone. He commuted.
Yes.
And then that,
every day.
Even that said, that was still a long commute.
That was a commute. Yeah, 75 miles I think one way.
Wow, and that was on I-44. I-44. I don't remember when I-44 was built, but that was just kind of the main corridor for you guys' lives, wasn't it?
It was. Route 66 early on, and then they put the 44 in there. Yes, I meant to do that, so don't edit it out.
Seems to be a theme right at the moment. And I was listening. I found this really fascinating that well, actually Curtis was talking about that I-44 to a large degree, of course, Route 66 before that, and then the railroad, but it traced the old Buffalo Trail. So the Osage used what is now I-44 as a primary thoroughfare of the Ozarks. So
you can still see chunks of buffalo droppings here and there.
Are we sure about that?
Or dead cats on the tree.
Could be. Oh my gosh, yeah. One of the things, and I love this. I love this chunk, but the Upper Boston Mountains, on the weekly, referencing it as a central pocket of the Arkansas Ozarks, including some of the roughest, most beautiful terrain of Madison, Carroll, and Newton counties.
Absolutely.
Now you've got or had family down there as well.
Yes. Well, actually, my wife's family was down in that area. We were in the Marshall area, up in the Bear Creek mountain region, in Welcome Home, Tilly, Snowball. Some of these people will know those areas. But yeah, my wife came from that area, and it is a totally different climate there.
It is, isn't it?
It is. I mean, there have been times when we've gone, especially in the wintertime, down in the valley, around Marshall, it might have been, raining or something like that. But the time we get up on top of the mountain, it's snowing.
Yeah.
And it's snowing inches, not just a little bit. I mean, it's snowing inches. and the ground is different. The forests are different. It's
There's a lot of mistletoe on the trees.
yeah.
I remember we came back through there one time on a kind of a surveying trip for a State of the Ozarks. Your mother-in-law was still
living at the time. Yes.
yeah, and stopped at Welcome Home, and then went out to the cemetery, and oh my gosh, was it cold!
Chinkapin. The Chinkapin Cemetery.
Wow.
It was cold, but what a magnificent view.
It was.
You know, that view's being wasted, I think, but you know,
not a lot of living people there.
Those who are there can't see it, but you know, those of us who do trip there get to see it. It's gorgeous.
And I got to experience a little because I don't know if I've ever been as cold, and I grew up in Illinois and Iowa, and winters up there. I don't know if I've ever been as cold as I was standing on top of that mountain.
Yep.
That was wind and rain and sleet, and
it was a mess. But it's been my experience over 45 years of being a pastor that the coldest place in the wintertime is a cemetery, and the hottest place is in the summertime is that same cemetery. It doesn't make any difference.
Then we got down. We was coming down on the north side of the mountain, and got quite a ways down, and then stopped at that spring, and it had to have been like 10, 15 degrees warmer. Again, that drop of elevation, amazing.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the drop in elevation there, but it's significant enough to change the weather pattern.
Yeah, and the views are amazing.
Yes,
it is
absolutely.
Truly deep in the mountains. And I referenced this. You were with me. We were. It was that same trip, wintertime. I referenced this, but I was wanting to get your take on it. And when we got down to Ozark, Arkansas, which Ozark, Arkansas is down in the Arkansas River Valley, so it's not geologically it's not in the Ozarks. No offense to the awesome people of Ozark, Arkansas, but we got down there, and it was dusk. That thunderstorm was rolling in. The spring peepers were going, and you could turn around and you could look and you could see the mountains.
Yes,
that was I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's. You know, the Ozarks probably are some of the most beautiful terrain, beautiful country, beautiful water. You know, it's just majestic.
Yeah.
And you've got it all. You know, you may not have the craggy peaks of the Rocky Mountains, but you travel around the Ozarks and you're going to get a good smattering of terrain. You know, everything from plateau to valleys to mountains to rivers to lakes, you know, and hardwoods, softwoods. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
And you get, of course, here in Branson, this is White River Hills country. And you don't have to go very far in any direction to, of course, start running across stuff that's really pretty.
Yes.
And I love Branson, but I've got to admit, and I may get in trouble for this, but so much of Branson has been developed. And you remember it back before those days.
I sure do. In fact, you know, on the magazine, you know, a few years ago, I wrote that article called "Tearing Down the Mountains."
Yeah.
You know,
we'll revisit that soon. But tell I mean,
well, you know, they've tore down a lot of the mountain region, the mountain area, and a lot of the mountains for progress. You know, and those mountains are the very things why people started coming to the Ozarks. You know, and I understand progress. I understand that, but I wish we could find a better balance of
between trees and strip malls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
You know, and you know, I shop at some of those strip malls, but man, I would just, you know, if we could just somehow balance it out.
I know, and of course you remember the strip when it still had a lot of trees.
Oh yeah.
And of course it
that
doesn't.
means I'm really old for those of you who are just listening. And if you're watching,
You can see I'm really old.
And one of the last things that I wanted to hit on this, well, a couple of things. The Springfield Plain, which includes Springfield, is a plain.
Yes.
I mean, it's you know, you get up to Springfield, there's portions in and around Springfield that you certainly would not associate with the word mountains.
No, and it's flat.
Yeah. That was something that really as an early visitor to the Ozarks, really confused me. Around Springfield, I'm like, is it the Ozark Mountains? Is it not? Well, obviously it is, when you look at it geologically. But then another area I want to talk to you about was you get up towards Greenfield and Lamar and stretching out toward Kansas City, all of a sudden it starts looking like Kansas. But portions of that are also
portions of that is. But when you get up to around Miller, Greenfield, Stockton, in that area, that is also much like the area that I grew up in. Again, those rolling hills, lots of timber, and it's farmable land.
Yes.
Tillable land.
Well, and you have family up and toward Miller.
Oh gosh, yes. I think we founded the town of Miller, and then we sieged Mount Vernon and ate our way through Greenfield all the way to Stockton. So
Did you guys start the Apple Butter Festival?
Well, no, but we finished a few of them.
Oh, we need to, when it gets to time for fall, we need a whole episode on nothing but apple butter.
Yep, absolutely. Along with biscuits.
Oh, yes.
Home churned butter.
That's good. That's good.
Alejandro's about to have a fit thinking about apple butter and biscuits.
Oh, yes, he is. So an area I want to get into, and I've not gotten into it, and we'll just close on this, but the Elk River Hills over by Noel. Of course, that's north of Bella Vista. We've been to Bella Vista for the Arts and Crafts Festival over there. It's a mighty neat country, what I've seen of it. And of course, Cassville. Yeah. We drove through Cassville last fall.
In that area, I'd like to spend more time over in that region, especially, I'd like to go at Christmas time and take my Christmas cards over there and have them, postmarked from Noel or whatever it's called. But, and that used to be a thing, and it may still be. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
People around there would drive all the way over there to that little bitty post office, so they could get their Christmas cards postmarked from Noel, Missouri. Noel.
Noel,
Missouri. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I like that. We need to get vintage Christmas cards and send them to all our members. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that means I'm going to do that. I get to do that too. Yeah. No, we can do that together.
Absolutely, Dale. It's great to have you back in.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we're gonna be hearing a lot from you over the next couple of weeks. So
okay.
I'm
cool.
excited to, and possibly having you sing.
La. Yeah.
No, you don't really sound like that when you sing.
No. It's much worse.
Dale, it's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Alejandro. God bless.
You know what I want? A bunch of mini
More
stories. Oh, I know they're bad.
Let's get Ethan in here to wrap this thing up.
Wrap it up, rapper.
Just hearing them talk about their whatever.
Yes.
Forget Joe, just his stories.
Alright, see if we can get it right the first time.
Whatever, that means nothing.
Yeah. It's all good. Well, Ethan, it's good to have you back in the studio.
And it's good to be back.
It's always fun to have your dad in here.
Yep.
To talk about the Ozarks. It seems to be a continuing trend when we're not talking about Marvel or Mystery Science Theater 3000.
It's almost like there's a whole online magazine dedicated to the
Something
Ozarks.
like that. It is. Wow. Never would have thought that. Huh. So to learn more, visit us on stateoftheozarks.net.
Sign up for the State of the Ozarks weekly email.
Like State of the Ozarks on Facebook.
Follow at Soto Media on Twitter.
Subscribe to Soto Media on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram at State of the Ozarks.
Subscribe to This Been Thinking About podcast on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to Been Thinking About the State of the Ozarks podcast.
With Josh.
And Ethan.
And this is our Ozarks.
Your community.
That's a wrap.
That is.
Night, guys.
Night.